Today's episode is going to be talking about the conservatives and what I think they're doing well and what I think they need to work on. I tried to make this part of another episode, but the audio didn't work, so I'm here redoing this episode. That fan should stop above my head. So welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie B. Normally, I am in a studio, but the flu is going around, so my husband is downstairs in our bedroom, which is my studio is in the corner of our bedroom. And I brought my clipboard, so let's get into today's episode, shall we? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into today's video. I'm all messed up. To be fair, I've been sick as well, and it's not been fun, okay? It's taking a long time to get over this. So what do the conservatives do right? First of all, their approach to personability has been incredible. Pierre's ability to connect one-to-one with people and really seem like he cares about us, and I think that he does care about us, is incredible, okay? He does seem like he's one of us. He definitely seems like he is a genuinely nice guy, okay? I like that they stuck with the family situation during the, I'm glad like the kids were with them and stuff, and they opened up about talking about the struggles that they have with that, like even just talking about how they relied on family. Very, very great. I love that because conservatism to me is, I think a lot of people who are conservative these days are people that have children that have seen the negative toll that the left has taken on this country overall. And we are a big chunk of his voter base, but I do think that he could get to a lot more youth as well. And I think that he did do a good job at getting to youth as well, okay? I understand that Pierre Poilievre's big thing was cutting the carbon tax. But here's the thing, the industrial carbon tax is still on. I don't even think that he should have stopped calling out the carbon tax situation, because I truly think that one of our biggest problems is that industrial carbon tax. When it takes that much more, when our industries are taxed that much more, that impacts the bottom line. That impacts us the most, okay? We're the ones paying for the product to make sure that they can get the money to their stockholders. Okay, my blush looks really prominent, but it also matches the symbols. I don't know. Anyways, so let's get to what this really is about. Okay, because here's the thing. I have been losing a lot of hope. After Pierre lost, I'm not going to lie to you guys, it just really bums me out, okay? You guys know my grandma died. She didn't get the health care that she needed during COVID. And honestly, even though I would never get justice per se for her being let down by the medical system, it would have been nice to see the government that put all of our people through that, voted out of office. That would have been a little bit nice. So I don't know. After that, I have kind of felt really hopeless. And so I think that maybe they should start with a massive campaign of hope, okay, on social media. And I think they need to understand the impacts of social media more, okay? The impacts of the bots on TikTok, and from what I hear from Wyatt Claypool, sorry about that, Wyatt, if you ever see this, what I gathered from his videos is that this is on Facebook as well. And I believe that Frank Vaughn and Jasmine Lane talked about it as well. Just misinformation campaign. And what it reminds me of is probably how, there was a lot of misinformation around, putting Mark Carney in a good light. And I could see that it being something like bots, because the amount of people who went after Pierre for, quote, Pierre being not pro-choice, and just Mark Carney and Jagmeet Singh lying over and over again. They said that he was going to use the notwithstanding clause. That is such a huge deal to women on the left in Canada. They think that we are in America, okay? Even though, especially because a lot of them are way too young to remember Stephen Harper. Now, I was young enough to be a mom during Stephen Harper, okay? I remember how far our paychecks went and that I got a baby bonus. and that I went to school during Harper as a single mom, got grants and loans federally, provincially. They needed to be way more clear on their messaging, because it couldn't have just been, do you know how many people messaged me when I showed, because I keep everything. I have all of my old baby bonus, like you used to get a check in the mail and it would give you like a summary, and I kept a few of them, and I put them on, I obviously covered up my information, but I put them on Instagram. Do you know how many people messaged me and said, oh, I had no idea that you got a baby bonus during Harper. I thought that Trudeau invented that. Of course you did. Of course you did, because the Liberals have massive campaigns of misinformation to make the Conservatives look bad. I personally didn't vote for Trudeau because I had no idea, and this is to say if we should be voting when we're this young, but I had no idea what amalgamation meant. So when he said he was going to amalgamate the baby bonus because we had a provincial one and then a federal one, and when he said he was going to amalgamate it, I thought he meant get rid of it. So I didn't vote for him. Not only was he a nepotism baby and just seemed like an arrogant prick before, but I had no idea what it meant. So they needed to be very clear on how much you could succeed as a single mom. Okay. Messaging, maybe not, and I don't even think that their messaging about Carney wasn't good, because my daughter still says like sneaky Carney all the time, because that was their messaging, and obviously the cookies on my television are going to show conservative ads. So while I think those ads were good, I'm also going to point out that they should have been quoting Carney himself from his book. There are so many disgusting quotes from Carney in that book. They needed somebody to read that book immediately. Okay, I'm sure with all of the nerds in the conservative movement, okay, one of us is a speed reader or a listener, and it was free with a Spotify subscription. So whoever had a Spotify subscription could have literally listened to it on 2 times and gotten the information and put out ads. Okay, his book, he said in that book that homeowners are a disposable class who are literally good for fighting wars and like labor and keeping peace, like being police. Okay, the left, they need to find out what the left hates more. Okay, the left hates billionaires. You guys should have been pointing out they hate landlords. In fact, 3 months prior, they cheered on the CEO of a company because they don't like CEOs so much that they cheered on the death of one. So not that I'm saying and condone that behavior at all, but maybe look at that and say, hey, if you don't like CEOs or big giant landlords, because there's a difference between having some properties and investment properties. My mom had an investment property. Like, I don't blame people for having an investment property whatsoever, okay? What I think is very different is the fact that this man's a globalist shill billionaire who is literally one of those giant landlords. He literally owns assets. That's what Brookfield does, is that they own assets. I got tons of views on my video about it, okay? Like, that could have done well for them, okay? And maybe hire, I don't know, people who are younger too to work on the team. I don't know who they have. I genuinely don't. So I think having people from each generation helping you guys, and, maybe even Gen Alpha, teenagers I know wanted to volunteer and help for things like that. Although I feel very strange about teenagers in politics, but I'm also like, if people are going to be passionate about something, let them be passionate about something. But you know what I mean? Get a feel. Like, my daughter, who's Gen Alpha, she saw a lot of edits of like Pierre and Trudeau to Chapel Row music. I don't know why, but that's what she saw. But a lot of those kids remember what it was like to live pre-pandemic and how much we all got to do with our parents and kids. And focusing on that would have been very, very well. Like, my old video of Canada to like the song Under Pressure got so many views because we are all nostalgic for the time when Stephen Harper was in. So overall, I think that it would be kind of a mistake to do what the NDP does and be dishonest about it, because we know that the NDP work with creators on the left in Canada and don't disclose that. But maybe having, like, I love the idea of Pierre's podcast, by the way. That's an A+. So something along those lines. But make sure, I know that you guys are not on TikTok, but other people are. And even if you're not on TikTok, the conservatives need to be aware of what's being said about them on all of these websites, okay? The bot farms are an issue, and so are the social media creators that lie about them. So anyways, messaging. I would like to see them call out the Liberals and the NDP for way more hypocrisy, use graphs, okay? When it comes to, they have done such an incredible job at demonizing conservatives that they have split apart families. Okay, so I am not saying to sensationalize things. I don't think that's right. But we are very much struggling as Canadians, and there is nothing wrong with pointing that out. Point out the domestic violence. Point out how that is not feminism. Point out how allowing criminals back on the streets, and show them who decides who our judges are. Who decides these things, okay? We need to be talking about these things because they are directly impacting the public in a massive way. And all of our public is gaslit by the media into thinking that none of this is a federal problem for some reason. I genuinely don't understand. Just like when it comes to gas and oil, you got the conservatives need to be showing how incredibly serious this will be if we go through with electric vehicle mandates and stuff like that. They need to be up there with graphs. Show them that they quote David Suzuki for this stuff, and show them that David Suzuki said that we need to depop the world, if you know what I mean. Depop the world to make sure that the climate is saved. And then point out how bringing so many people over here is doing nothing for the climate. Point out how you guys down south are just continuously taking out more and more trees. And that could be, because here's the thing. If you're in Southern Ontario, you 100% think that climate change is upped its ante and you're about to die, okay? Because it's literally almost 50 degrees down there right now, okay? Why? Because they've taken out all the trees, they've shoved millions of people in a tiny little space, and that needs to be pointed out and talked about, because that's a lot of votes, okay? We should be showing the death count and maybe going off script like Doug Ford. That's why people like Donald Trump, because the other day he said they've been fighting for long. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Also, you guys should not have taken the stance of going against Trump. I understand why, but if you could have come at it with a point of view like it's better for the environment, because to me, I'm sitting here like, what the heck was that? Why would we be doing more and more trading with the EU if that's obviously worse for the environment and that Trump isn't going to be in forever? Point out all of these logical things, okay? We needed an opposition there, and I completely understand, because I completely understand how deluded and delusional a lot of our public is and how much they believe of the media. But that's another thing. I understand that Pierre was dubbed, and it's not okay, and it's stupid, and I can't even believe that our media would ever do that. But they need to go back on there, because even if they make them look bad and you say something smart, even if they try to make you look bad as a conservative, but you say something smart, it will turn so many people into looking and digging for themselves even, okay? So just think about that. Just think about the impact it could have, because the majority of senior citizens are definitely getting their everyday entertainment from the news. So don't be afraid of it, but also point out the facts, bring graphs, bring picture, okay? Bring all the facts that you guys need. Send your best speakers, because Oh, this media eats you guys alive. And I feel for you because they definitely don't go as hard on the liberals, but that's because that's their paycheck. Oh, and be angry about stuff. Nothing kind of rubs me the wrong way than when, like, I've seen Andrew Scheer talking about something very serious and he smiles at the end because he's like, gotcha to the liberals. But it's like, yeah, gotcha, but we're talking about people dying. So Canadians are actually dying and it's not funny. And we should be more angry about those things and more positive about the good things, okay? And then the last thing I'm going to say is let your best people up there without a script, even if you think it's too risky, even if they're not as politically correct as the others. People love the realness. That's what they loved about conservatives. What they hated the most about the liberals is that they're all part of this elitist club. We don't want it to seem like you guys are part of an elitist club because we all know that when the conservatives were in, we all had a way better shot at literally succeeding in this life than when the liberals are in. And, and I don't mean just succeeding in life via economically, I mean lifespan. I mean, show them all of the deaths in Canada since 2021. Show them that. Oh, and another thing, before I wrap this up, a massive thing that they need to do is that if they're going to say that they're going to get rid of woke, the thing that the left loves to do is say, okay, well, that means you don't like diversity, equity, or inclusion, and then they use it against you. What you need to do is have clear messaging. No, we need to go back to using an ethical standard of practice. Tell people what ethical standard of practice was and why it's important. Show them the cases of people who were subjected to literal experiments. Even though they consented to it, they did not get informed consent, and it led to a lot of horrendous things. These are the types of things that we need to be talking about when it comes to, and give simple climate solutions. Their idea of saving the climate is to involve putting us into poverty. The conservatives need to be showing us, okay, here's what we're going to do. And we're not talking about, they need to really define themselves because they sound like globalists when they say sea change. Talk about the real environment. Talk about the earth. Talk about tax breaks for gardeners, tax breaks for farmers. Like, if we want to eat local, why do our farmers have an industrial carbon tax? Do they? I don't know. I'm pretty sure they do. But anyways, that's my video for today, guys. I'm going to go downstairs and edit this video and get it up to you guys. But let me know what you guys think, if I missed anything, if I should make a part 2 with more that I missed, or let me know what you guys think. Yeah. I hope that they don't take offense to this because, you know what, it needs to be said. And as somebody who is I'm very much a conservative voter in Canada, and I've just lost so much steam, and that's because we all have lost hope. So restore hope, point out the hypocrisy, figure out social media. And you guys, you have a good one. Okay, bye.